And you've heard the term, Vancouver's a big village. So to see people that we knew grow these companies and open up these offices and just really establish Vancouver as what became Silicon Valley North was really good fun to be part of. The best agents use coaches.
When I make a purchasing decision on property, Randy, guess what I do?
No, I don't see agents being removed from the equation. Say no to things, so you remain very focused.
Wow.
So now RESAS is plugged into the largest real estate organization on the planet.
I used to chase the ROI all the time, return on investment. And over the course of time, that has evolved into what I call return on life.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Randy Dyck on the Return on Life podcast. And it isn't always about the ROI, as we know. It's about ROL, Return on Life. And I've got an incredible guest with me today. I've got the presence of Tom Rossiter with me today. And Tom and I go way back. We've known each other for about, I'm going to say about a decade now.
About a decade.
About a decade. And we were connected through another individual that we know named Richard, and brought us together. And we just kind of connected and kind of fell in love with each other.
And now it's now.
And now it's now. And Tom is an individual that I just have so much respect for. Runs a large publicly traded company. We'll get into that. He's got so many great nuggets and takeaways that I've experienced personally over the years. And so I'm just excited to have you here, Tom.
Thanks, Randy. I'm excited to come on your show and listen to what we're going to be talking about, learn from you, and share a few stories along the way.
Well, today's about learning from you.
I don't know about that.
I'm just the host. I'm just the person that asks the question and you respond.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, when you think of return on life, and I know you live a very full life, what comes to your mind when you just think about return on life?
Did you ask all your guests the same question to open up?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Would you rather answer a different question?
No, it's good. It's an interesting format. Return on life, I mean, break it down. You know, what do you get out of your life, and why do you do the things that you do in life to generate all of the opportunities that you create, all of the activities that you spend your time on? It's a broad question, but I think to me, it's about making sure that you maximize the time that you spend on the most important things that matter to you.
And that is very important. I know you spend a lot of time with your family. It's really important. So that would be one of the return on life, which should be hanging out with your family as well. But I know you do a lot of good work within your company called RESAS. And tell me a little bit about RESAS, your position there, how long you've been there, and then how maybe return on life fits into just all of that. And maybe it's even a bigger question. How did you end up here in Canada? Because that accent doesn't sound Canadian to me.
No, do you know where it's from?
I'm going to say it's from the UK.
Very good, yeah, not Australia. Very good. Yeah, it's interesting. So here we are in Canada. I went to Whistler many, many years ago on vacation, as so many people do, and fell in love with it. I remember very clearly coming down the Sea to Sky Highway at sunset, thinking, I'm going to come back here as soon as I can. And then realized when I was at the airport, I could just move. And then every weekend could be a vacation. And so make a long story short, I was obviously living and working in the UK, but came out to Vancouver with a snowboard and a suitcase and a laptop and didn't really know anybody. And started a new life here in 2007, so a few years ago now.
So you came to Whistler, then you went home, and on your this journey said, I got to come back to Vancouver, or did you never leave Vancouver?
No, I went back.
Okay.
I went back, but it's one of those. It's such a beautiful part of the world, and most people around the world probably spend their vacation and their savings trying to come here on a holiday to experience it, and so. It was such a compelling trip, such a great experience, such a beautiful part of the world. I thought, let's make a change, see if I can move here and live here and experience this opportunity and the mountains and nature and everything that Vancouver is. And did it. You know, and lucky me, it was at a time when the technology sector was really ramping up in Vancouver too. So my background in design and then bringing it to Vancouver to be more on the tech side, it was very, very good timing for me.
And so back then in the tech world, what was just trending? What was trending that you were like, watching, following, that you were kind of playing in?
Well, you got to remember, this is going back a few years, right? Like there wasn't Google Maps.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you can remember what it was like back in those days.
Yeah.
I think 2007 Facebook was hot. Everyone used it. Not so much now. And so what we saw in Vancouver is a lot of the very large tech companies set up offices in Vancouver for different reasons. And so to be here at that time, it was amazing to be part of that whole technology culture, that whole sector. And you've heard the term, Vancouver's a big village. So to see people that we knew grow these companies and open up these offices and just really establish Vancouver as what became Silicon Valley North was really good fun to be part of. It was also around the time of the Winter Olympics coming to Vancouver too, if you remember that.
What a party.
All of the buzz that came with that.
What a party that was.
Yeah.
And so you came knowing that I'm going to work in the technology industry of some sort. Did you have anything, or you just said, I'm out of here, pack my bags, pack my snowboard and my laptop, and you just came to Vancouver without any...
I mean, there was a little plan.
Okay.
Right? And so in
Isn't that the best plan? Just a little plan?
Yeah, the best plan is no plan.
Nah.
No, I worked for a design agency in the UK and ended up opening up a West Coast office in Vancouver. So we managed to go from an 8-hour day in the UK to then a 16-hour workday, right, with the trade-off between the UK and the West Coast. And in the early days, we had clients and we hired some staff, but we didn't have enough work to fill the day. And so we had time and bandwidth for little skunk works, side projects. And one of them ended up being this idea about real estate. And when I came to Vancouver and started to meet people and got introduced to some very well-dressed social professionals, it was realtors and real estate agents. And remember, in Europe, it's not the same. Okay, in Europe, you can be any salesperson with no license and work for a real estate agency and go and be involved in real estate. So this idea of the agent is the rock star, the agent is the celebrity, doesn't exist outside North America. So I was really taken by this whole culture, this whole profession. And what I learned from meeting so many agents early on is that they're very social. And you know this, we'll get into this a bit later, but the essence of a great agent is how relational they are, how social they are. And so we thought, here's a profession that is struggling to keep up with how technology is moving quickly. It's very social. We have an agency with some spare time. Let's see if we can just whip something up and create something to help them.
Whip something up.
And so we did. And so the company that I'm running now, Resas, started life all those years ago as a concept in an agency to say, what if? And we did it, and fast forward a few years, and now Resas has become a global platform that we'll talk about in a bit.
Right. Well, let's talk about that now. So from a little startup and getting a few agents, and maybe we should understand what Resas is first, but I'd like to have an understanding what it is so our viewers can see or hear and understand what it is. And then secondly, how does it help them? And then another important piece I think would be great to share is, how did you go from a startup to being publicly traded? That's what a feat that is. So I kind of like to hear all of that.
All those questions?
All those questions.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. So recognizing how social agents are, I mean, there isn't a more professional group that are as social as agents that we're yet to find. So recognizing how the good agents are, we decided to digitize their natural
You said
behavior.
good agents and social. Do they go hand in hand?
All the time. You know that. So what we wanted to do is say, look, the best agents get together and they share things, right? They collaborate. You exemplify this. How can we amplify that through technology? And Resas started as this concept of, why don't we just use technology to allow those social interactions to happen, but through the computer, through a phone, through technology. And if we do it right, you get all this baked in scale, right? So this face-to-face communication all agents have, now it can go global. That was our thesis. We put something together. It looked a little bit like
Who's we?
Just a small team of us in Vancouver. So we put together a very basic version of what became the the current platform, but it looked a little bit like Facebook back in the day. And people trying to put a pin on what RESAS was, because no one had done it before, said, oh, it's like a social network for real estate agents. And that's really what it was to begin with, because we saw a need in the market. We saw how social the profession is. And we thought if we build something really simple, like really simple.
Keep it simple for the realtors.
You have to.
You have to.
If we do that, then they might gravitate towards it. We've got to be very cognizant of building trust, because the industry itself is a little bit guarded in some cases. And so we trod very carefully to begin with, and we built a very simple prototype, and we launched it with a few agents and just got incredible feedback. And that was the first time I think we knew that we hit something. We knew that if we kept being very respectful of the industry, focusing on trust and quality and being agent-centric, that this thing could go, and it started to.
That feeling of when you've got something like lightning in a bottle, it's an incredible feeling. And you experienced that. Was it like, holy cow, we've got something here? Or was it like, oh, might have something? How did that come to fruition at the beginning?
We're going back a few years, so I've got to rewind here.
Yeah.
But it was noticeable very quickly, the response from the agents that used it. You know, and again, this is a few years ago, and so there wasn't the technology that there is today. It was a very new concept, and we were fortunate in that there hadn't been anything like it before. You know, we brought this whole concept of be social, online, specific to your industry, really for the first time to real estate. And so once we launched it in a couple of markets and we saw it just rip, you know, we thought maybe we'll get a few agents use it and we'll have to seed it and like give them a little prod, but it just went. And I think that was the moment, you know, lightning in the bottle, that phrase you used. I think that's when a few of us realized, okay, there's something here. And it started to go by itself. And lucky us to have developed something that has that word of mouth, that kind of echo chamber factor, where we would come in the morning and we'd see new agents in different markets and in different countries using the platform, sharing their inventory, asking questions, trying to get help, referring business. And it happened very quickly.
So you mentioned this earlier, that we are in an incredible place being in North America, where we're so organized. Our real estate is so well organized, from, you know, at the highest level all the way down to the brokerage. There's just so much consistency in how well it's organized, which I guess really benefits even somebody like yourself. But how do you see that different? Let's say we go to South America, Brazil, Europe, Portugal, Italy, how different it works there and functions. Does your platform bring more value to that kind of a market than it does to a North American market, or is it equal everywhere?
It's a great question. And the consistent part of real estate is that it's inconsistent. Okay, so there isn't a one size fits all. And we learned that pretty quick. We saw agents, not just in different locations, but with different brokerages, all joining. Okay, so what we ended up creating is this, we call it brokerage agnostic.
Right.
Okay, so you're Randy with eXp Realty, or it's Jim with Sotheby's, or it's Fred with, you know, whoever it is. Everyone's welcome. Right. As long as you're licensed, you can come and use RESAS. And so we saw it scale, and we saw it grow, we saw it go international quite quickly. North America has a lot going for it when it comes to real estate and its layers to the cake. There are some inefficiencies, which we all know, but generally speaking, it's very different in the US and Canada compared to the rest of the world. So in Europe, you're Randy the agent. You could have been working at Starbucks yesterday selling coffee, and you can go and join a real estate brokerage or agency and start to go and help people buy real estate. Very different.
Very different, yeah.
Very different. And so we're not trying to put up too many guardrails. We've just built a platform that allows a professional that's involved in real estate to connect with other professionals. And we don't really kind of coerce them too much about what they have to do, other than provide a platform for collaboration, accessing very unique data, which I think is what draws people back, and just helping them achieve what they're trying to achieve for the sake of their clients and growing their own business.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Collaboration is really the new currency. And by being agnostic and having an agent from any place in the world, any brokerage in the world on the platform, I think is just genius, absolute genius.
Thanks. I mean, it's a reflection of the industry, and like, I know you travel a lot. When you go to events and you meet different people from different markets and different countries and different brokerages, different firms, you get to learn so much from them. Mm-hmm. And you get to network, and that obviously brings different pieces of value and different benefit over time. Yeah. All ReSAS does, at its very core, there's a lot to the fringes, but at its core, it just brings together a whole industry, and we're seeing the results every day with how it helps agents.
Yes, and I've experienced that as well on your platform. I'm with EXP, as you know, and we have the EXP world, the three-dimensional digital world, and it's now going to Frame, which is really, it's unbelievable compared to Verbella, but can be in an auditorium, and there's agents from all over the world sharing how they're doing it, and the depth of what you learn when you hear somebody from, whether it be South America, Europe, wherever, or even a state over or a province over, how they do it differently.
Yep.
You just get so much wisdom and knowledge from that, just to be better at your game.
We're
all better together.
Better together. The best agents. So we have a ton of agents, so much unique real estate data there is. We don't know what to do with it, but it's so valuable. So the trends we've seen are the best agents use coaches. Okay, and I know coaches are expensive and they're not for everybody, but it's night and day between the top agents that use coaches and those that aren't in the top 1 or 2%, they don't. So there's a clear pattern there that if you want to be the best agent out there in your market, you should explore using a coach. So very clear difference there. And the other is just willingness to learn, right? And the easy way to do that is to travel to events and to ask questions and to be open to listen more than you talk, right? That 2 ears, 1 mouth ratio, it's there for a reason. And it's very, very clear. And I think agents, in fact, any professional, but we see it with agents that like to listen, that absorb information, that don't mind asking what might be silly questions, they do really well.
Yes, I call it be the most interested, not the most interesting person in the room.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. By the way, incredible business model, and you've been there. Let's make sure we know how many years you've been there. Is it around 13 years?
Yeah, well, apparently, yeah. That's what we learned this morning.
Actually, I want to stay here. One more question. Who's your competitor? Do you have a competitor?
ReSAS is an industry platform. Mm-hmm. There aren't any other industry platforms.
Interesting.
So the closest organizationally would be the National Association of Realtors, which, as you know, is the trade body in the US that all the realtors belong to. Mm-hmm. So organizationally, they are most similar to us in terms of reach, brokerage agnostic, and size. The product or the tool that we end up replacing and superseding the most when we welcome new customers is typically something like a Facebook group or a private version of Facebook like Workplace, or some kind of technology that puts people in a group and lets them chat. Usually that's not the most efficient. It might be good if you bring people together, but when you get down to it and you're trying to ask for information on listings, or you've got a referral or something that's specific to real estate, nobody else has built a platform like ReSAS that allows that kind of conversation to happen, but all around real estate data.
Let's stick with the word agents. So agents, change agents as an ingredient. We all have some change agent within us. You asked me earlier what I was going to be speaking on in South Africa. I'm going to speak on resilience. What are some of your superpowers, your gifts that you use? Because you lead many, many people. I've seen you speak. Incredible speaker, by the way. Really have a lot of respect for you on stage.
Thank you.
Only on stage. No, I'm just joking. But what are some of your gifts, your superpowers that you use on a daily basis?
That's a good one. I think that there's a lot to be said for, like we talked about a minute ago, about absorbing, listening, and learning. And I think that's part of a way that any professional can develop, right? How else can you absorb what other people have been through the learning curve already? So like that speaks for itself. I think another key piece of that, which is, I see it as the follow-on, is giving back. Okay, so nobody that I've met exemplifies that more than you. We were talking about this before we started taping. It's so important that as you learn new experiences and new skills and stories and habits, if they're helpful, pass them on, you know? And I think I've seen you and I've witnessed you do that with so many people, and it really enriches other people's lives, often in ways you have no idea. And so you're lucky, I feel very lucky as well, to be in some of the situations that we've been in together and in our lives, in our professions. And not everyone can be in the room for those kind of situations. And so as we are in those situations and as we absorb and we learn and we're privileged to onboard that new skill or that new soundbite or that new habit or that new trick, whatever it is, to be able to share that with others directly or indirectly is such a key part to giving back. And, you know, we all try and do different things like volunteering and mentoring. And I think just the banner of giving back is so underrated, but it's so important.
Yeah. Giving makes me happy. And that can be in just giving help, advice, money, whatever, but I just feel happy when I've done it. And so, you know, for the listeners out there, that's something that you should really consider is, how do you find happiness? Well, you give. You just give of yourself. Give of your time, your efforts, your money, your knowledge, your expertise.
It starts with time. You know, you've got to usually create time to be able to give back. Yeah. A lot of people say they're too busy. You know, easy reason to give, easy excuse to have. Yeah. I think it's critical that we do it. I think no one's really that busy that they can't create little windows of time to give back to different groups that they think it really matters for.
Yeah. I've been afraid of sometimes giving, though.
Why?
Well, you only have so much time, maybe so much money, so much this, so much that. And so fear is one of those things, and fear's always been a fairly powerful motivator for me. Sometimes it's been my motivator, my friend, my foe. It just depends in the situations. But as I mature and get older, of course, you get to the point where you say, I don't care what people think.
Good.
But does fear, is fear a friend, a foe, a motivator to you?
I think everyone would want to channel fear to be a motivator. I'm not sure everybody can. I come across fear and greed every day because you mentioned it earlier, Recess is a publicly traded company. Mm-hmm. And as you know, in the world of investment, fear and greed are the two big motivators that go head to head. And we see it on a daily basis with our own company being publicly traded on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange, but other real estate companies that we work with, partner with, are very close with, that are also publicly traded. It's a different dynamic, it's a different part of the business, but we encounter it on a daily basis.
In dealing with all these different brokerages, is there a bit of a jockeying that takes place? Like, you're doing that for so-and-so, why can't you do it for me? Or I don't know, what is there, total transparency, or how does that all work? Yeah,
that's a great observation. It's something, we've worked really hard to be the neutral foundation for the industry.
You're Switzerland.
We have to be. Because, so our first two largest brokerage clients that Recess secured were Remax Global and Keller Williams. Okay, and I think of all of the real estate brands out there, those are perhaps the two that are most head-to-head.
Right.
And yet we had both of them as customers on our platform. So we had to develop a framework and a mindset that was very fair, very transparent, but very sympathetic to privacy and security and data, right? Like, two companies as big as they are, you know, Remax at the time had 125,000 agents.
Right.
Keller Williams had 180,000 agents, right? Pretty big.
Wow.
They were both trusting Recess with their agents and with their data. And so we had to create this world where they felt safe to use our product, our technology, and know that it wouldn't be shared with anyone else. And they did, and it's fine, and that's what we do on a daily basis. But the interesting thing is, whether it's Remax or Keller Williams or any of the other hundreds and thousands of brokerages that are out there, they're all generally trying to do the same thing. Generally, right? There's different ways that they skin it. There's different benefits some have than others. But really what they're trying to do is welcome the best agents to their roster and hopefully help their agents succeed in earning more listings and securing more transactions.
Bring up a question in my mind. I'm going to ask two questions. Hold the first question. You are a brokerage, but not a brokerage. Am I right? You do have a brokerage.
RESAS is not a brokerage.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're not a brokerage. Then my follow-up question would be, would you consider it? And then hold that thought. Would you consider that? And then I'm going to come back to AWS, Amazon Web Services. Not Amazon Web Services, which back in the late 2000s, they and Netflix were both in the streaming business, both getting into it. And Netflix said, gosh, how do we scale? We need somebody to help us scale. That's Amazon Web Services. So they made a deal with Amazon Web Services, even though they're in the same industry, fighting for the same customer. And Amazon Web Services was, a giant already. They could have just squished them and annihilated them, but they allowed them to come in, they served them. And what Amazon Web Services got to do is say, look, the rest of the world, the streaming world, we're trustworthy. We can support a company that we could squash, and watched how they scaled, and they scaled with them. And I don't know if you know this, but every streaming services in the world uses Amazon Web Services. Netflix has 45% of the market share, Amazon second with about 12%, and then all the others fill it in. But AWS serves them in some capacity, all of them.
Interesting.
So I come back to this question. I wanted to frame that.
Yeah. Very good.
Could RESAS, I'll say it right, would you consider being a brokerage for the world and still be able to serve all the other brokerages and MLSs?
We've considered it, and we look at it all the time. It's not our model. Our model is to bring together all of the different participants in the industry, right? There isn't anything else that is the global standard for real estate. And the more we've established a stronghold overseas in different regions in Europe and Asia especially, the more we see that there's just a huge need to bring everything together.
Okay.
If we became a brokerage, which we're not, it would compete directly with some of our customers, some of our partners. I think it would really send the wrong message to the industry. It's not our model. Our model is to bring everyone together on one platform. And the best analogy I can give is Salesforce. Right? Salesforce.com, the original big CRM, it's still the gold standard. It's very heavy duty, it's not for everybody. But different businesses that often compete all use Salesforce to run all of their operations, all of their CRM, all of their pipeline management, and a whole bunch more. That's the model that we've created, which is a central, global, enterprise-grade platform that different brokerages can plug into and use for their own particular needs.
And how many agents do you have on your platform?
We have over 600,000 agents globally.
600,000.
We do.
Wow. I would think North America has the largest, and then Europe?
Yeah, we're based here in beautiful Vancouver.
Yeah.
But we focus entirely on the US. So we've never done any outreach in Canada. It's all been very focused on the US. The reason for that is it is organized in the US, but there are still some pretty obvious inefficiencies that we've had the most success helping organizations with over the years. It's also 10 times the size.
Right.
So we focus on the US, but we're in 161 countries, which is pretty well all of them.
Wow.
Canada's pretty good. We've got about 25,000 agents in Canada that have all come in through word of mouth or referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And as we expand...
Or your personality.
I don't know about that.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. But as we expand more, we've got a few things coming up here that's going to put us on the map in a much bigger way in Western Europe and in Asia as well.
Do you want to share on that?
I cannot.
Cannot. Okay. Zip. Mom's the word. Okay. Well, you've created quite a bulletproof business. It sounds very bulletproof. 650,000 agents, agnostic. You accept everybody. There's no diversity around the world, whatever. So it seems bulletproof.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. So here's what I think. I think that technology today, especially with all of the new advancements that we're all living and breathing around, like AI, technology is never the moat, right? Anyone can go and recreate technology that's already been done with the right team, the right time, and the right budget. So we have great tech. It's won awards. We built it with Microsoft. So it's really strong. It's robust. It's multilingual. It's all the things it should be. But I believe RESAS's real moat is the trust that we've earned from the industry, that we can have competing brands and brokerages and organizations entrust RESAS to house their data and let their agents access it and share it globally. And that model that we've created where it's brokerage agnostic. That's not easy to do. And I think, the heartbeat to the whole platform that we've created is around real estate data.
Yeah.
And you know this better than anyone. It's knowing what's coming. It's access to data. It's having your finger on the pulse or your ear to the ground so that you can best serve your clients. And I think that we've done a really good job at helping any agent at any stage in their career join that whole initiative and be part of the movement that we've created.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing company. Let's shift away from RESAS and talk a little bit about what drives you, what motivates you, who you are in the quiet. Is there a quiet? What do you do when there's nothing happening and you just want to chill out?
I'm a big reader.
While we're at
Thanks for the books you've lent me over the years, by the way.
You're welcome.
Including the Netflix one you just mentioned with those stats. I think I've still got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love to read. And, I learned a long time ago that there's very few successful people in their lives, in their careers and business that are not big readers, right? Again, look for the patterns. So I love to read and I love to give back. We talked about that earlier. It's a big part of what we all stand for, certainly with the community that we built here. And I love to be outdoors. It's one of the reasons that I moved to British Columbia is we're by the mountains and the ocean, and it's a pretty special place to be.
Yes. We've hiked together. We've done that a number of times. We need to go skiing yet.
We need to.
Yeah.
Snowboarding,
I should say.
I remember the hike that we did on Mount Baker.
Yes.
Remember? And that was going back a few years. And that was when you were still with Remax.
Yes.
And I remember you just kicking the can around. Hey, Tom, have you heard of this company called EXP? Yep. What do you think? I'm thinking about, and I remember the conversation so clearly.
Yes.
And fast forward to now, you obviously made the transition to leave Remax after 20 years or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're now on a completely different trajectory. You want to talk about how that experience was?
Well, that was a great hike, by the way. I love that hike up to Mount Baker at the glacier, and we had lunch there, and it was just fabulous. But that is when I was brought to the awareness. I mean, it was just like this awareness of this company called EXP, and I thought, what is EXP? And so I was just in the process of kind of digging a little bit deeper, and it was really on my curiosity meter at a very high level. And I thought, well, gosh, you've traveled North America, the world, with all these different brokerages. You've seen them all. And so I thought it would just be a great opportunity for me to ask you. That was just a random ask.
Yeah.
And, well, one thing led to another. And here I am 5 years later. And just, I don't know, I found my place. It's everything that done up to that point, which was 27 years in the industry, led me to that moment. It was just so meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was just meant to be. It just kind of like fell in my lap. And after really understanding what EXP was, within 40, 50, 60 minutes, I knew this was my home.
Okay.
And so I made that move back in December of 2018.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And are you as transactional now as you were then? And if so, how has that been? And if not, like, what do you spend your time doing?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Myself and my team, we've sold over 7,000 homes in my 32 years.
Okay.
And so I was ready for a bit of a shift. So by design, I started slowing down my transactions and moving more into building out EXP or looking for top talent. Really, that's what I'm looking for. It's just looking for great talent that want to see real estate as more than just a transactional career, but they actually want to see it as an opportunity to build legacy, financial legacy, wealth legacy, family legacy. Because, gosh, you see this in realtors all over the world. You're only as good as your last sale. And you're trading time for money all the time. It's just, okay, I've sold another house. I got to go sell another one because I'm going to be broke. I mean, I'm going to spend the commission. I got to go do another one. And so the concept of EXP, the model of EXP, allows every agent to have a pension plan, allows every agent to have a legacy plan that is greater than just another commission.
Okay.
And so that was so exciting for me.
Well, so different.
So different. And the other thing that was so cool is that, and I know this is what you do, you're really into giving back and mentoring and coaching. And so I've done that over my entire career, but there was never really a platform to allow you to be rewarded for those coaching moments, those mentoring moments, creating other great agents. And what Glenn Sanford created with EXP has allowed us all to have that opportunity to have that.
Oh yeah, I mean, said differently, you don't go to very many agents' retirement parties.
No.
Because they never retire.
No,
because they can't.
They just get old and die.
They get old and die, right? So you go to lots of agents' funerals, but they never retire. And I think
it's interesting. I've only been to about 2 like legit retirement parties in 32 years.
There you go. But the nature of the business doesn't allow it. That's why. Yeah. So I think the leap you made, and obviously the success that you've enjoyed since through your hard work, just underscores, honestly, a big gap in the industry. I think EXP has given you a great home and allowed you to create this legacy for you and your family and your business. But I look at it from an industry standpoint, and the rest of the industry doesn't have that. And there's a lot of change happening within real estate, and I know you keep up with the news as well as the rest of us, but there are going to be some big shifts happening within organized real estate over the next couple of years, certainly in the US. And I think if one of the outcomes from what's going on can be a better plan for the professionals within the industry about not just what do they do now and how do they kind of navigate the waters of the current conditions out there, but long term, how do they work towards retiring? How do they work towards not living transaction to transaction? There's so many things that are great about the real estate industry. It's given you a great life.
It has.
But there are some real big and very obvious areas that can be improved. And we're working with a few different industry partners to try and address those. But it's a great opportunity for us all to lean in and try and do better.
Mm-hmm. The gap between the uber rich and the rest seems to be getting bigger. However, I think our industry today, if we create better platforms, better models, more EXP models, I'm not saying we should be the only ones. There's going to be many, many copycats, I believe. But what EXP does is it gives the little people, the realtor, an opportunity to play a bigger role in the end game, because they're now given the opportunity to actually bring others into the business, support them, want to support them because there's a compensation model. And so that gap in the industry of real estate could actually shrink to where the have-nots actually have an opportunity to have.
Certainly, that's a great opportunity for people coming into your brokerage. I think a bigger issue, and people don't like me saying this, but I'll say it anyway because it's just you and me talking, is there are too many agents.
Absolutely.
In the US, there's realtors and then there's licensed agents, right? So in the US, there's give or take 3 million licensed agents today, and there's give or take 1.5 million realtors that belong to an association. Okay, so that's a pretty big number. But last year, there were 3-point-something million existing home transactions. Usually it's about 5 or 6 million a year. Last year was 3.5 and a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so 1.5 million agents, 3.5 million transactions in a year. Okay, and so we've all had experiences with not so good agents. And when you experience a good one, it's night and day. Mm-hmm. So I think as an industry, but this is the conundrum, right? We've got to get to a place where I think ultimately there are fewer agents in the industry, but the agents that are in it are that much more professional, that treat it more like a real career, a real job, a real profession, that are held to a higher standard. And lucky us in North America that we have licensing standards, because many countries don't.
Right.
But I think the way to get into the industry, the barrier is very low.
The bar's low. Bar's low on the fact that it doesn't take much of an education to get in. And secondly, maybe that's good for me. But secondly, even the dollars, the cost, the barriers to get in, I think we would really flush out a lot of the ones that should not be in the industry if we increased our fees to be a licensed agent every year. I mean, we have the opportunity to make hundreds, if not millions of dollars a year, yet to be active in the industry, it's less than $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so if we raise the bar on the finance side, we raise the bar on the education side, then we would probably have more professionalism happening in the industry, as well as just fewer agents. Mm-hmm. I did work on a little tech project myself called Real Clarity, where you would actually send the survey out to people that you've worked with that come from a third party, and they would then evaluate you, much like a Google review.
Yeah.
But it was a closed environment. And I took it right to the top in Canada, called CREA, Canadian Real Estate Association. They loved it. But you know what they said? We're members-based, and so we would not get buy-in from the members because not all members would want to be reviewed. Mm-hmm. There you go. The answer to that.
Yeah. There you go.
So with real estate, there's been talk about realtors with everything that's happening that they will at one point not be needed. AI will take over. This will take over. We can book travel online. We never talk to a travel agent, never book anything through anybody specifically other than another bot. Mm-hmm. Is that going to happen in real estate from your perspective? And you travel the world. You see agents in all different countries.
Travel agents aren't gone, right? They just have to refine what they do. And there are less of them. Mm-hmm. But I know a few, and we've studied this a lot. The travel agents that exist today actually earn more today than they used to in a pre-digital world.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they've had to refine their offering.
Right.
Right. Like there's a certain type of person or organization or company that will use and has to use a travel agent, and so they now charge accordingly. It's not just a race to the bottom anymore. With real estate, like booking a flight for a couple $100 is a little different to going and buying a home that's the single biggest purchase in your life, most likely. Right. So would you trust a bot? Would you do it yourself? Would you roll your own when you're going to go and invest a lot of money in a home? Like, I don't see it myself. There's great advancements in technology. We get to see a lot of new ideas and innovation. We give back actually to a mentorship and incubator group that the National Association of Realtors puts on called REACH.
Okay.
And we help up-and-coming companies get to understand what the industry is like and how to navigate it and pitfalls to avoid, all the things that we've been burned by over the years. We try and, again, give back and share. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of the new technology, the new entrepreneurs, the new ideas coming to the industry. But it's the kind of technology that's supplementary to help agents be more efficient, to make better decisions, to help their clients in a more efficient manner. None of it's really replacing. And I think there are some markets globally where there can be more of a chance of more of the transaction being done by technology. But in North America, I don't see it happening in the upcoming future where agents like yourself will be completely removed, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear.
I am, and I'll just add to that, 32 years of experience, like thousands and thousands of sales. When I make a purchasing decision on property, Randy, guess what I do? I reach out to a couple of my colleagues that I trust. Mm-hmm. I admire their understanding of the market, and I say, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Mm-hmm. See, even because it's the emotional piece that just messes with your decisions.
Totally, yeah.
And so that's why an agent is so important, that they can come in, push the emotion aside and say, here's the reasons why or why not you should do this.
Yeah, it's knowledge engineering. It's not, so people think I can go online and I can do a search and I can find a home for sale and I can go and look at the open house. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, and rightly so, think that they can do that. They don't need an agent to help them, right? And maybe they don't for the discovery part. Mm-hmm. Okay, if they want the good real estate that's not yet on the market, they need to use an agent. But I think a lot of people think that that's really what an agent helps with the most, certainly on the buying side. But as you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg before everything that comes next.
Right.
And so, no, I don't see agents being removed from the equation. I think there needs to be less. I think there need to be higher quality, better training. And remember, if there are fewer agents, there are more transactions per agent that will be a result of that. So they'll all do better as a result as well.
Right. And doing more transactions, there's always this concept of cost. It's too much. And so if it wasn't watered down so much, we could probably work even on some of the fee structure and make it more palatable for the consumer. Of
course. It's like, so RESAS has been residential in its focus since inception. Mm-hmm. Quick sidebar, in COVID, we had some commercial brokers start to use RESAS. And they were different brokers from different firms in London, New York, and Chicago. Okay. And we saw them and we reached out and said, you're licensed, so you can come into RESAS, but we built it for residential agents, so excuse the bedrooms and the bathrooms, and so they're used to different types of fields.
Right.
And the response we got back was, we don't care, because they don't have anything. They don't have a centralized method to communicate across different brokerage firms on the commercial real estate side. They all use email, okay, which is not efficient.
Right.
So we've learned a lot about commercial real estate since then. We've built a version of RESAS that's specific to commercial brokers, so quite distinct from residential for all the reasons I know you know. And I say all of this because in doing that, we've learned about the commercial sector. There are very few commercial brokers compared to residential agents, right? Like it's night and day, the numbers. And I think, I'm not suggesting that there needs to be that few residential agents out there, but because there are fewer commercial brokers, they need to work harder. There are more transactions that go around. They all earn really, really well.
They do.
And the whole experience just feels so much more professional on the client side. So should there be as many residential agents in the future as there are commercial brokers today? No. But if we bring the number down, quality gets up there, the client experience gets up there, there's more value. And to your point, if you run the numbers on all of that, there's the opportunity to bring down the commissions, which in turn helps the homeowner.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned commercial. If I could back up time, I would spend more effort on develop my commercial skills and spend more time on the commercial side than the residential side.
Why is that?
Well, for many reasons. One is the opportunity, your expertise, your skill is significantly higher because it's less of an emotional decision, more of, does this work? Is the zoning correct? The numbers work? And you're just dealing at such a high level.
Yeah.
Another reason is that you can control your time. Many of the residential sales happen in the evenings or weekends, and business owners, business people, serious investors, it's the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so you can control your time. But it's just where I resonate more. I'm an entrepreneurial investor. I have a lot of investment properties as well, and so I really dig that and get that. But I went down a path, and I was on that path, and I just kept going. But if I could back time up, probably do it a little bit differently. If you could back up time, you could talk to yourself, that Tom Rossiter that showed up to go to Whistler snowboarding, would you do anything different than you've done? How would your life look differently if you could? Or would it?
Yeah, it would. I mean, we all learn and wish we knew then what we know now. It's pretty common.
I wish I could change yesterday because I'd probably do yesterday better.
I know. But I have a story about commercial real estate, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, of course. I mean, I think being in a place like this with so much growth, so much opportunity developing all around us, both in Vancouver, where we've been the last little bit as it's grown and been this tech hub, and with RESAS that's just been this beachhead to the industry that people have all been magnetized towards, we end up with so much opportunity. There's so many things come across our desk. And I think, honestly, looking back, I think we probably should have said no to more things. And Randy, I know you love to read. One of the great books that I recommend everyone to skim through is Good to Great.
Yeah, great book.
Which has all the hallmarks of what separates a good company and then a great company. One of them being that attention to detail. I call it the hedgehog principle. Yes. Hedgehogs are good at one thing, which is defending themselves. And so apply that to business, like pick your one thing and like only focus on that. And I think as an industry platform, as we developed it, we've naturally gone through different iterations of what RESAS needs to be, should be, could be. Some of it's led us in a roundabout way to the right solution that we're now really focused on. But I think good advice for everybody, not just our younger selves, but everybody is, and there's two actually, they go hand in hand and they're opposites. One is say no to things, so you remain very focused on a very finite number of things, because if you spend more time on fewer things, the output should be much better, right? So one is say no. And then two is say yes, which is
no and yes.
Yeah, which is when you get presented with an opportunity, sometimes for certain people and personality types, the instant reaction is to say, no, I'm fine. No, I don't want to go out. No, I don't want to go meet that person. No, I don't want to go on a hike up Mount Baker, right? But if you say yes, generally, good things can happen or do happen. Maybe not directly, but you know how life works. It's just a series of chain events. And so they go together, say no and say yes. But if you apply that kind of thinking, then it generally will allow you to focus more on the outcome you're trying to drive. And it will open your world through opening doors to new opportunities.
I like that. I often say doubt is not a no. So often you hear something, you go, I don't know if I should do that. You're just doubting it. You're kind of saying no. But really it's just your mind telling you pause. Think about it. It's not saying no. It's a speed bump. Slow down. Think about the whole process and then move on. So doubt is never a no. It's just a pause. Think of it as a pause. So you can actually take another run at it or a better run at it. Slow down and think about what you're going to do.
You sound like the British Territorial Army who say that you should never react in the moment. Like whatever happens, when something happens and it winds you up and you're frustrated, you want to reply. And their thing is, in the face of adversity, don't do any of that. Just remain calm, give yourself 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours to calm down, think clearly, reassess, and then respond.
Stay calm.
Sounds like you. Back to commercial real estate.
Yes.
RESAS has been focused on residential real estate. Yeah. We've achieved really great success across the industry. We've got, I would say, some of the industry's best brokerages, franchises, associations, and organizations, and agents too, turning into coaches.
Yes.
All using our single platform, right? So I'm very proud of the work that the team has done to achieve what RESAS is today. I wish we had focused on commercial real estate earlier than we did. And the reason for that is the best real estate that we've seen on the residential side, RESAS sees it before it goes on market. So we see listings come to RESAS hours and days and weeks sometimes before they go live and active in the MLS and through syndication to the real estate search portals.
Right.
Okay, so you know this, the best real estate typically is just before the market. And if you think about commercial real estate, the best commercial real estate never goes on the market.
Never goes on the market.
And institutional buyers, which is a big part of commercial real estate, if it's on the market, they won't touch it because their perception is it's the commercial real estate graveyard.
Yeah.
And
it's been looked over, picked over, it's not worthy.
Yeah. So put that in a blender and shake it. What's RESAS good at? Well, one of the things it's really good at is allowing professionals to share data, and in this case, inventory, before it's ready for the market, for all the right reasons. You know, price testing, it hasn't been photographed, whatever the reason. But you apply that to the commercial sector, it's how the whole industry rolls. And so as we've grown RESAS Commercial over the past 12 months in particular, in a stealth-like manner in a few different markets, just to really understand how different it is from residential, it's night and day to us how much commercial real estate transacts away from the eyes of the portals. And that's what we're really good at. So I wish we'd done it sooner than we have, but here we are now and we've got some great opportunity ahead of us.
Wow. Location, 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 and timing, timing, timing. Both are in real estate. A lot of people say, well, it's location, location, location. I would differ. Often it's timing, timing, timing. I've seen just awful property in the right time sell for like ridiculous amount of money. So it's almost more about timing than location. Being that you're in Vancouver, and if we go back in time, would you be in a different place today if you were in Silicon Valley, in a different market, if you would have started RESAS in a different market? I don't know if you've thought about that, if that's something that...
You asked earlier about RESAS being public. RESAS went public in Canada early as a way to raise capital on much better terms than we thought we could get privately.
Okay.
Which in Canada you can do because there's a venture mindset, thanks to mining and resource and oil and gas and that venture mentality of investors. In America, that doesn't happen. You know, in America, as you know, going public is seen as a big liquidity event for early shareholders and investors, and it's so very different. We often are asked that question by American investors, funds, institutions, and also customers. And it's very different. I think if we'd launched RESAS in the US, if we'd gone down the private route of Silicon Valley and received some kind of funding from a VC and done a Series A and all of the rest, I think the perceived value of the asset we've created would be exorbitantly higher. That's just the difference between America and Canada and Silicon Valley and the rest of the world.
Times 10.
But, you know, would we have had access to as much capital as we have raised in Canada? I don't know. But different environment, different mindset. I've got friends that have operated businesses and founded real estate tech companies down there, and it's been a very challenging environment. But we don't know. But what I can say now is we've been at this for a number of years now. I feel like RESAS has found its stride, in particular over the last year. We've talked a lot about the National Association of Realtors today. We signed them as a partner last summer.
Wow.
So now RESAS is plugged into the largest real estate organization on the planet. We signed a deal with Berkshire Hathaway and the Home Services of America organization, which is the largest brokerage in the US. And we just announced in the fall an integration with Zillow to allow certain types of listings in RESAS to be pushed onto the Zillow platform. So we've had a lot land right for RESAS in the last few months. And so we're on a path that's onwards and upwards, and it's a really good time for the business.
What's next? Like, you just keep pulling these massive opportunities out of the sky and putting them on the table and making dinner out of it. What's next?
Wait and see. There's a big, like, we've done a lot of work in the shadows on RESAS commercial. So you know that industry a little bit. You know the players, the brokerages, the firms. Put it in a shaker, right?
Yeah.
Commercial real estate, we're great at global, we're great at off-market inventory, we're great at referrals.
Yeah.
We can really help large real estate brokerages visualize what their footprint of offices does through technology. There's going to be some real big moves coming up.
Wow. Any big lesson that you'd like to leave our listeners with that maybe would help them in their week, their month, their year?
Lessons
A
learned.
big lesson learned.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we've covered a couple of them already. Say no more. So be selective.
Yeah.
Listen way more.
Be curious.
Be curious is another way to put it. And again, look at the trends. What are the, if you look at in your life and in your business career, I know you've got a huge network of people. If you look at the people that you admire or look up to or envy perhaps, and what they've done and how they've done it and what they've prioritized and how they roll, and you extract some of those hallmarks, those traits, and look for the common ones, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of commonality there.
Right.
So I think read a lot, learn a lot, listen a lot, be very focused. And I think if we all do that more, we all hold ourselves accountable to do that more, then we'll all be a little bit better off.
Right on. Let's finish off with a bit of speed round. Unless you want something else that you'd like to share. You have something else you'd like to share.
You're the host, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Speed round, okay. So, fine dining, takeout, Uber Eats, or home cooked meal? What's Tom doing?
Home cooked.
Home cooked meal. Who's cooking? You?
I like to cook. I don't get to cook as much as I would like to cook, but I do like to cook.
Okay. What's your dish of choice? What's your go-to?
Man, I've got a few, and they're all over the map. Yeah, different cuisines from different countries, depending on the mood, the season. Yeah, I've got a bag of tricks.
You'll have to test my palate.
I used to work in the kitchen for the Queen in the UK.
What?
Yeah.
Well, you got to tell me about this now.
I mean, that's the story. I grew up very close to one of the Queen's holiday homes. It's called Sandringham. So for those of you that watch The Crown, you'll know where that is.
Yes.
But yeah,
I used to live on Sandringham.
Did you?
Yeah, the street called Sandringham.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Named after the place.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Carrington was the other street. So Carrington, Sandringham.
Okay.
Is Carrington right there too?
It's in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my old stomping ground when I was a kid, and one of my first jobs was in the kitchen there for old Queenie.
Wow. Did you ever meet her?
Not her. I met Prince Philip and all the rest of the clan.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was it an enjoyable meet, or was it like awkward, or?
I mean, they're the royals, so it wasn't.
How old were you?
Wasn't super casual. Oh, I was young, like 18.
18. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just you follow the path you follow, and
Yeah.
that was in a kitchen, and now I'm sat on a couch with you in Vancouver.
Oh, that's cool. What do you do to let your hair down? What's Tom doing when he's just like chilling?
Well, I love to spend time with my family. I love to be outside. I love to be outside with my family.
Yeah.
I love to, like you, I love to get the old pulse racing and the adrenaline going, and anything downhill fast I'm a big fan of. I love motorsport. So yeah, try and cut it a little bit away from business when there's some downtime.
You ever land on your head hard or smack yourself good on some of your speed?
Touch wood. You want any wood here? Nothing too crazy.
Okay.
Not like you. I know some of the stories and scars you bear, but no, I just nothing wild yet.
You keep it upright. That's good. Favorite band or concert you've been to that you want to share?
I like lots of different types of music. I've recently got more into what I would call new school country music. Yeah. So I've got connections to Nashville, so it's a big music scene down there.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm into that a lot, but yeah, just a whole mix.
So that would be like Jelly Roll?
Jelly Roll's cool. Yeah, we have that one in the house a lot.
Yeah.
Are you a fan?
Yeah.
His story is wild. Actually, speaking of podcasts, you should see the podcast with him and Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Really
I will
interesting.
look it up. Yeah.
He's a cool dude.
I love that song. I only talk to God. How's it go? I only talk to God
When I need a favor.
when I need a favor.
Yeah. He's an interesting cat.
Yeah. Cool. Text, email, talk, or leave it alone.
I would like to say talk, but probably text.
Okay. Yeah. We're texting society.
Well, you know why? Because, well, when we're talking, it's just the two of us, right? Which is the most important type of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And even better when there's no phone on the side beeping and buzzing the whole time. But when you're trying to get things done and it's more practical, you can do all the texting and you can multitask and,
You can be on a call, texting, emailing, and scrolling at the same time.
No scrolling. No scrolling.
No scrolling. Audible or book? I know you read a lot, so now we know.
Like real, physical, tangible bit of paper and a book.
Paperback or hardcover?
I would go paperback because they're easier to travel with, but some of them you can't get, so it's hardcover if you don't want to wait.
Okay. Trick question. If you were a scratch and sniff sticker, if you were a scratch and sniff sticker, and I scratched you, what would fill this room? What smell would fill this room? I'll go first, just so you know.
Okay.
Just so it's easier. You got some time to think and give me some time to process. I love being at the beach. I love kite surfing, hanging out with my wife. So it would have a combination of sea breeze, suntan lotion, and maybe a pina colada.
Beautiful.
That's what I would smell like.
Beautiful. Is that the essence of Randy? Ode to Randy.
Ode to Randy.
I live near the North Shore Mountains in North Vancouver, so the smell of the forest is probably part of it.
Forest is great.
And there'd probably be a little hint of bourbon in there too.
Nashville. Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much, Tom. What an enlightening conversation. I learned so much more about you, about your company. And so just really appreciate you being here. Thank you for being on the Return on Life podcast.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for doing it. And I see it as a way that you're giving back to your people, your network, your friends, your followers, and a whole bunch of people that you don't know yet. So good for you for doing it, and pleasure for me to be here with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.